I just think it's so unfair how the media is treating Bo Nix and the Denver Broncos. ESPN First Take this morning did a segment, and it was centered around who's the better, bigger story, Josh Allen or Bo Nix. Two of the analysts ended up going with Josh Allen. One of them went with Bo Nix. From my unbiased opinion, although Josh Allen has definitely overachieved expectations, it's Josh Allen. He's always at the top of the MVP odds. Bo Nix was the sixth quarterback taken off the board. The Broncos had a losing record last season. And let's not forget, guys, remember when Nix was drafted and you had several analysts giving it a D minus, a D plus, a C? And then I made a video saying, wait, I actually love this move. Bo Nix reminds me a lot of a younger Drew Brees. I think Sean Payton's going to get the most out of him. Nix was very ready to go coming into the league, and here we go. But it's not just the fact that they're in the playoffs and they're playing well. Bo Nix has had one of the best seasons we've seen out of a rookie quarterback in the history of the National Football League. Like, look at his numbers, guys. He has 29 touchdowns to 12 picks, 3,775 yards, and this doesn't showcase the rushing that he's done this season, but an even crazier stat is this. So Nix has 7 games of 2+ passing touchdowns and 0 interceptions. That's the most in NFL history. He's become the fifth rookie quarterback in NFL history to have 3,500 passing yards and 25 passing touchdowns. Now, yeah, Denver has the second ranked defense. Denver's defense is the better side of the football. But looking at what the Broncos were supposed to do, their over and under was 5.5. So this team was expected to win somewhere between 5 and 6 games this season. And here they are with 10 wins. And let's also not just act like they couldn't have beaten the Bengals. They lost in overtime. They couldn't have beaten the Chiefs back in week 10 when they had a field goal blocked, right? Both Chargers games were one score. No, actually, every game was one score that they lost besides the blowout against the Baltimore Ravens, which was in week 9. So this team has been extremely consistent. I think they've got the best front in football. Actually, I know they have the best front in football because I watched all of their games, and it's just night and day better than anyone else's I've seen. Nix is playing well. The Bills defense, I mean, it's okay. It's solid. But Josh Allen, yeah, absolutely. He deserves to be in the MVP conversation. He probably deserves to win it if we're going off of who really is the most valuable. But are we that surprised that the Bills are the 2 seed and Josh Allen is playing this well? Or are we more surprised about the Broncos being 10-7, the 7th seed? Bo Nix looks like a future superstar. And this team as well, they were handicapped coming into the year because of all that dead cap space they had from releasing Russell Wilson. And Sean Payton was being doubted last season as well. So Denver, I just think they're the bigger story. I'm not discrediting Josh Allen. I'm literally saying in the video that he should probably be the MVP. But I just look at the Broncos and their story, and I think it's absolutely the biggest of the playoffs because they were not expected to do much. Even the Chargers, they've got Justin Herbert, Jim Harbaugh. I mean, they were expected to make the playoffs, but the Broncos, they were supposed to suck. I mean, even the beginning of the year, I talked about potentially adding in Travis Hunter and giving Bo Nix another weapon, and then the Broncos just kept winning and winning and winning. And here we are. I think they've got a real chance to beat the Bills. They match up well with them because Buffalo's defense has been terrible against winning teams this season. Offensively, the Bills, I mean, they've got a good offense, but I don't think they've got a great offense. I think if you can get pressure on Josh Allen, you're going to be able to make him struggle because all of a sudden he's out of the pocket, he's on the run, and guys are going to have to get open against Riley Moss, and they're going to have to get open against Patrick Surtain, who should win Defensive Player of the Year. Patrick Surtain had one of the best cornerback seasons I've seen in my life. I mean, this dude is unbelievably good. And of course, just the pass rush with Nick Benito and Zach Allen. I mean, these guys have been crushing it all season. And I also want to give definitely a huge shout out to PJ Locke for what he's done. And these linebackers deserve credit too. This defense collectively is amazing. Of course, Vance Joseph, the defensive coordinator, dialing up the plays, just making it tough. I mean, quarterbacks have struggled this year against the Broncos. I mean, there how many like big performances by a quarterback have come against the Broncos this season? Lamar. Is that it, guys? I mean, Burrow for sure had a big performance. I can't really recall how Herbert played in those 2 games, which means that he did have 284 yards, 2 touchdowns, a pick. I mean, that's pretty good, but still, I mean, those numbers, you still give your team a chance to win. But I just think people are going to be surprised when they see how good the Broncos really are because the media, nationally at least, hasn't covered them much. Um, they really just haven't. It's the same thing with the Nuggets. I mean, even when they won the championship, they just weren't being talked about until they won the championship. I think Denver, they're gonna have to beat the Bills, or they're gonna have to just be in that game and have a chance to win. And I think they'll still be recognized, but they're gonna have to win realistically. I mean, they'll be given flowers, but they're gonna have to win. The Broncos are gonna have to win to get everyone's respect. And at that point, you beat the Bills. Now you have to go to Arrowhead and take on Mahomes. Then after that, you're probably looking at Baltimore, and then the Lions in the Super Bowl potentially. I mean, hypothetically, that would be the greatest playoff run in the history of football from a rookie quarterback, a team last season with a losing record. I mean, the sixth quarterback off the board. I mean, that would be literally the craziest story I think I've ever seen in the NFL. I mean, that just sounds awesome. I would love that, man, especially from a guy who covers the Broncos and roots for the Broncos over here on Daily Broncos. But just looking at what Bo Nix has done to enhance the Broncos. I mean, even if Russ was still here, they would not be in the playoffs. They would not be this good. The Steelers are paying Russ a minimum, veterans minimum right now to be their starting quarterback. The Broncos released Russ, which cost them what, like almost $100 million in dead cap space. And the Broncos are the happier one. That just shows all you need to know. That was very, very risky as well because you got a Broncos team that I'm not saying they were bad. I mean, they were 8-9. I mean, they've got a good defense. They've had a good defense, but it's just they were so close to making the playoffs. They got hot last year, and now they're releasing their quarterback. They're drafting a rookie. But Sean Payton knew that, hey, look, Bo Nix is my guy, and that's why I disagreed with all the analysts giving the Broncos a D minus for that pick. Because even if the Broncos were picking higher up, they still would have taken Bo Nix. That's how much they liked him, and maybe at first it sounded like cap to some people, but now it doesn't because Bo Nix. I apologize about that, guys. My mic disconnected, but I was saying I'm not exactly sure where he'll end up finishing in terms of the QB power rankings in his class because Caleb Williams, Drake May, Jaden Daniels seem to look like future stars, but I think Bo Nix has played just as well as those guys, if not better. Caleb's kept the turnovers down, but he just doesn't have the amount of what's the word I'm looking for? He doesn't have the he's not as dynamic. Like Caleb isn't as dynamic as Bo Nix because Nix, again, he's going out there with just huge expectations with the game on the line because if he doesn't win, his team's not going to make the playoffs. There's a lot more pressure where no one's expecting Caleb to do anything. And then, I mean, he's the number one overall pick, but Bo Nix just consistently this season has been the best quarterback from start to finish. I thought early on, the first two games, Nick struggled, but after that, I mean, he's just been easily the best quarterback. And especially Jaden Daniels has had a couple of slumps this year, but Bo Nix just consistently has been able to get it done and put his team in a situation to win. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what he's able to do in the playoffs. But I mean, just to be a rookie to get your team to the playoffs in the AFC, NFC was definitely more competitive, but the AFC, that seventh and final playoff spot between the Bengals, between of course now you've got the Broncos, of course, who made it, and the Dolphins were right up there too. So there was a lot of competition, but what it came down to wasn't the defense or Sean Payton. It was just Bo Nix overachieving expectations for sure. And yeah, I think that's definitely the biggest story of this game. Even though, yeah, probably the Bills will win. They're a 2 seed. They're just a more ready to go win now team. But you definitely cannot count out the Broncos next season being a true Super Bowl contender with just all the pieces that they've been able to develop this season. I think what it comes down to now is just going to be getting Bo Nix more help at the tight end position. The Broncos, and it disconnected again. Yeah, like I was saying, Cortland Sutton has been phenomenal this season. I mean, he's got to be, yeah, he's definitely over 1,000 yards. He hit that against the Chiefs. Devon Veely, I've liked the young guy. Troy Franklin, hopefully next season get more involved. And who's really surprised me is Marvin Mims Jr. I mean, he's been phenomenal, but they just need a legit game changer out there because all the other teams in the AFC have that. Like you look at this division, all of a sudden you've got Ladd McConkey emerging. He's injured right now, but Rashee Rice. And then for the Raiders, you got Brock Bowers, who's a tight end, but still. And then Jamar Chase, George Pickens. There's a lot of game changers, and I don't think quite Cortland Sutton's on that level. I think Cortland Sutton's an amazing wide receiver too, but they do need to get someone out there to be that legit guy. And it'll be interesting to see the draft. But for now, the Broncos, they've got what they got.